if you don't mind me saying so, you've been very shouty on this topic this lunchtime. And a lot of people have been angry, you, it seems, included. And I want to first say that the blameless people in this so far are the asylum seekers in Liverpool and elsewhere. They're only doing what's rational, what they're encouraged and enabled to do, and most of us, all of us, would do the same thing in their shoes. Number one. This should be obvious to everyone. So really, anyone that wants to protest is directing their protest in completely the wrong direction.
Well, they should be protesting outside the Home Office, quite obviously, Nick. And for some reason, they're not.
I would say so, but not for the reason you think. Here's
what do I think? Sorry, what's the reason I think?
Well, to protest and say that Suella Braverman shouldn't have the Rwanda program and should effectively allow us to become effectively the social services to the world.
No. I'm saying no. Let me be clear. I haven't said that at all. What I'm saying is if you're protesting outside an asylum, a hotel housing asylum seekers, then presumably your position is that you, broadly speaking, don't want small boat. People in small boats coming to this country in the numbers that they are, in which case I would suggest those people should have redirected their anger at the Home Office, where Suella Braverman and Rishi Sunak and successive Conservative administrations, however millions of them we've had in the last 13 years, have failed to do the thing that they promised Tory voters, which is, for some reason, they are focusing on clamping down on small boat crossings. So that's my position.
Good point. Yeah, okay. You've got a very good point there, but I must say, protesting to Suella Braverman, you're sort of protesting to the converted. The real problem is the general liberal intelligentsia, the media, and this is the story sold to us. And there is a big parallel with Brexit here. I'll try and be as quick as I can.
Go on.
We've been told for 20 or 30 years, even longer, by you, by the Labour Party, by half the Conservative Party, by the establishment, that almost unchecked immigration, first of all, is good economically.
I've never said that.
Also,
just to be clear, I've never said that, so please don't put words into my mouth. If you're going to say something, please, if you want to accuse me of something.
Not you, but most people. But here's what you did say today. You seem to be suggesting that the small boat problem is caused because there aren't legal means for all these people from horrible places to legally apply to come under the current asylum rules. So my position, and this is what I mean, I just want to come to the sort of central point that I told your researcher, which is I think the reaction in Liverpool, although it's totally unacceptable and extreme, but those people are able to recruit, I would say in some cases maybe slightly more moderate people, because moderate people and rational people have absolutely no voice and no outlet, because and I count myself in that, we're shut down, because my view, Sangita, is that we should withdraw from the United Nations agreement on refugees and have absolutely zero refugees and asylum seekers in Britain. But the problem is this conversation won't go ever.
Hang on, wait, sorry, this is interesting. So I would counter your argument by saying you absolutely, definitely have an outlet, as we all do. It's called a general election, and they tend to be held every 4 to 5 years in this country, certainly as long as I've been alive, and that's quite a long time. I would also say that Rishi Sunak is a man who is singing your tune, Nick, because he's a man who wants to withdraw from, as far as I can see, our international obligations to house asylum seekers and refugees. So all you need to do is vote for Rishi Sunak, who, as far as I'm aware, is planning to stand as leader of the Conservative Party once we hit the elections in 2 years' time. So that is a democratic outlet for you, isn't it?
It's not that simple, though, because even if, and by the way, if the Conservatives or any other party stood on that ticket, they would win.
They are standing on this ticket. That's exactly what he's trying to do.
They're talking about trying to manage within the current framework of law asylum seeking. I'm saying that it would be an absolute vote winner to just say that, given the way the world is now, to have the view that we should be responsible for letting anyone apply for asylum who basically lives somewhere horrible. You're talking 2/3 of the population of the planet. And it's totally untenable.
Wait, 2/3 of the population of the planet want to come here? Is that what you've just said?
Yes.
Based on
and it's
what?
somewhere horrible. And if they were free to do
Two-thirds
so,
of the planet?
Yes.
Wait, there are 7 billion people in the world.
Yes.
Sorry. Just to get this really clear, you're suggesting that 5 billion or so want to come to Britain?
If it was made easy and they could simply tick a box and say, I've got a horrible life for whatever.
What, the whole of the United States wants to come to Britain?
They're obviously not counted in there.
What, the whole of... Hang on, but you said 2/3 of the planet, not me.
Yes.
So the whole of the United
of the
States wants to come to Britain.
No, 2/3.
South America? Does everybody from South America want to come here?
Yeah.
Really?
I would say at least half
just
the
double checking that we're talking about
90%
North
of
and
the
South.
population.
Okay, got you.
No.
And what about the whole of the European Union? Are they interested? The ones that we've just jettisoned?
They're a tiny population compared to and the United States.
Right. So when you said 2/3 of the population wants to come to the UK, you didn't mean 2/3 of the population of the world. You didn't really mean 2/3, did you?
I absolutely did. You know the demographics of where all the people in the world live.
Wait for this. The whole of China wants to come to the UK. Does it?
Absolutely. If you made an open invitation to say anyone in China.
Is that? Sorry, I'm just producer Minty just getting her to chat. Is it 1.5 or is it 2 billion now in China? Can't remember.
1.1 or 1.2. I believe.
Right. Okay. Right. What? And so what? They're just amassed on the border right now, are they? Of France?
No, they're not, because they know they can't come here. Because actually, part of that would be with the Chinese Communist Party, who would they let leave? But if they were allowed to leave, this is rational human behaviour.
What about all of the Indians? Do all the Indians want to come in?
Yes. Not everyone, because if you're in the top caste in India and you're a business owner and you're in the middle classes, which is rather a small proportion of the Indian population, you probably have a relatively comfortable lifestyle in India, better than you would get in Britain.
And did you get that on your last trip to India and China? Just checking.
I've never been to China. I've been to India, though. Yes, exactly.
Who did you talk to in India?
This is how most people
I was a correspondent for the
live.
BBC in India, actually, Nick. So I might know a thing or two about that, as far as I'm aware. The whole of the Indian population wasn't very keen on coming to the UK. Because actually, they were, if I'm absolutely honest with you, Nick, none of them really wanted to come here. Their first choice, in fact, was the United States, which they saw as a wholly better place to be. Who else is coming over here, Nick?
OK, let's stop bickering about who wants to come.
Australia? How about Australia? Would you like... Oh, something tells me, Nick, that people from Australia and Canada... Are you going to include them, Nick?
Can we stop this game?
Or are we okay with white people coming here, Nick? Is that what it is? As long as those billions of people are white, then that's okay, is it, Nick?
You're saying I'm a racist. Just because I don't want immigration and asylum.
I didn't call you a racist, Nick. I didn't call you a racist, Nick. Did I? I also was not the person who made the assertion that how much of the world is it that wanted to come over here? 2/3 of the world wants to come here.
I mean, I count in there European Union and America for choice of places to go. But Britain is a top destination for asylum seekers and immigrants in the European Union because of the English language. OK, you could argue you get a better lifestyle in Germany or Italy or France.
Understood. Why do they speak the English language, Nick?
Who?
The 2/3 of the world's population that wants to come here. Why do they speak English? What is it?
Because of the Americans.
Is it?
And it's because it's the international business language and the international language of the internet and entertainment.
Is it because people like me are over here because Britain, 100 years ago, were over there?
Actually, it's not quite why most of the world, as a second language or first language, speak English.
So when 3/4 of the world was coloured pink, do you remember those maps?
Because the British
had colonised 3/4 of the world.
Yeah,
when the world's map was coloured pink, do you think that the British Empire went over there and adopted the local languages? Do you think that's what happened, Nick? Or do you think perhaps...
No, they used it as a point of apartheid and purposely didn't want locals to learn to speak English.
And that's because they wanted to use them to run the empire. Like my ancestors were.
Everyone in the world speaking English came from America being the dominant global power at the time of globalization, mass communications, and now the internet. I mean, this is, why we're talking. But of course, we happen to speak English as a first language here. And so it does make us a bigger magnet than most countries in Europe for people coming from Africa, Asia, South America, where people speak a second language. It tends to be English. But anyway, we go back to the central point, Sangita, which is how many people do you think, from all the ills in the world, the number of people in terrible, terrible, war-torn, famine-stricken countries, we should say you can apply and come to live here? I just say there's far too many of them, unless we're going to have a rational discussion about what is the right number, what is a reasonable number, if any. I think it should be none. That would help our economy in the long run.
We have a labour shortage, Nick. We don't have enough people in this country doing the jobs that we need done. We have 9 million people who are currently economically inactive. We have 1.7 million people who are unemployed. The government is struggling. The government is struggling currently to negotiate proper settlements with public sector workers. But part of the problem here, the underlying issues here in public services is the vast shortfall in people doing the jobs. That means people in public services are under huge amounts of strain. Huge. And a lot of that is because British people are simply economically inactive, Nick. By the way, there is a democratic outlet for you. Rishi Sunak is considering withdrawing from the ECHR to crack down on immigration. The very thing you claim isn't happening. But you know what, Nick in Holland Park? I hope you enjoy your afternoon. Draw up the drawbridge, because would you believe it? You heard it here first on LBC from Nick in Holland Park. 3/4 of the global population is amassing in France to invade. Not really. All I can say is, racist is as racist does.